Hello, we are live at Michigan and Lake, live in the newsroom where we're located at Michigan and Lake. And we're giving you a behind the scenes view of our newsroom and how we put everything together. And we're doing this before the 9 o'clock. And joining me tonight is Leslie Moreno, who is one of our reporters who is joining me to talk about what she did today. She'll also be joining me tonight at 9. So tell me, we've seen this story a lot where there are so many burglaries in the area, but you just covered yet another one. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, so police are warning about, 6 businesses were hit early Wednesday morning between 2:30 and 4:30, so in a span of 2 hours in the Archer Heights neighborhood. I spoke to a business owner of a pizza shop. He was hit hard. He says they broke through the glass door, the front door. They got in, and there's really crazy surveillance footage. I mean, they walk in, they get the registers, they go into the kitchen, they go downstairs to the basement. He had just taken out his rent money and he left it in the safe, and they took that as well. So nearly $6,000 that they took, and then on top of that, all of the damages and the repairs and the costs, they're currently closed and will be reopening tomorrow.
So do police think that it was an inside job if they took the rent and kind of knew?
No, I think that was just a coincidence.
Okay.
We did reach out to police. This is just a spree of burglaries that they're seeing in the area. Again, 6 in total were hit within like a mile distance. So yeah, just putting out, and there's no one in custody right now, so they're just putting out that warning and hoping that, you know, people who live nearby and businesses will check their surveillance footage and see if they notice anything strange.
So speaking of strange, you and I were just chatting, and tell us what happened to you today. Now, these things kind of happen. We should preface it by saying that this happens periodically. You know, we're always on the street and people come up to us. You know, I've had people come to the station trying to talk to me.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened to you today out on the street.
It's been a hectic day, and yeah, it just comes with the job. Like you said, we were literally outside the restaurant, the business, and you know, when we're doing our live shots, we leave our gear outside and we're right there in the car working and waiting for our next hit. So yeah, there was a guy that came up, and as he was walking, he was holding a beer can. So right away, our security angel, he jumps out the car and he just, you know, shows up hoping that scares him off. It was a whole thing. The guy was, I think, really drunk.
And you said he circled the block.
Yeah, he was threatening the security, and then he was threatening us, and I think he felt some sort of way because our security was out there and we were just waiting for him because we didn't want him to steal our gear, all of that.
Where were you standing in all of this?
I was in the car.
Okay.
I was inside the car, locking the doors. The guys were out there. Our photographer, Scott and Angel, were out there just, you know, making sure everything was okay. And I was inside, and yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, is something going to happen? But he circled the block, and then he threw the bottle of beer that he had. So that's when we were like, okay, we should go.
He threw it away, or
he threw it towards us. So he walked away, and then he threw the bottle. So yeah, scary, but you know, we're all safe, and we have a great team of security that, you know, make sure that we're okay.
Yes,
sure.
I've been out with Angel before, and he definitely looks out. So what happened after that? Did you just decide to stop reporting at that point?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, anytime there's an issue with safety, we just automatically come back. I texted Jenna. I was like, hey, this just happened. We're heading back, and that's exactly what we did. It's never worth, you know, the risk.
Safety.
Yeah. So yeah, we headed back, but as you mentioned, sometimes these things happen, and you just have to be careful, and also making sure that people, you know to be safe, and just to keep an eye out for these kind of things.
Has this happened to you before when you've been out reporting?
Yeah. Here it's only happened maybe once or twice, but yeah, unfortunately, we're always out, you know, doing all these kind of stories.
People do
dangerous
always come
neighborhoods.
up to us, no matter where you are, and you don't always have security, so you just have to be careful.
Yeah, just be careful and be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's great. So I know you have to prepare for the show.
yeah, we'll have much more. I mean, the surveillance footage is crazy. Hoping you guys can join us at 9, and we'll have much more on that story.
Maybe they'll be able to catch them because it looks like the pictures were pretty
Yeah,
clear.
the pictures were clear. Yeah, good surveillance footage, and yeah, hopefully.
All right. Thanks, Leslie. We'll see you in a bit. And Emily is standing by, our chief meteorologist, coming in. We wanted you to have to take a seat. We
Yes,
know you
please.
might need one. You don't
Please.
want
Did
to
you see
stand.
me almost flip this backwards too? You guys have to be careful of me around here.
It's so nice to sit and talk with you, like
Yeah.
outside of the newscast. It's
Well, and
always
we
great.
oftentimes don't get to talk about anything other than the weather when we're
Right.
on. So like this is a very fun segment for me too, just because I get to kind of see what's trending and
Yeah. And
you
so
know.
Emily was telling me about this new app that helps to detect something that we're seeing a lot more of, Emily.
Yes.
Tell us.
Okay, so if you've heard of the Meta AI glasses, which I think a lot of us have, you know, they've become fairly popular for our tech gurus here. About 7 million people bought them in 2025. But, you know, I think a lot of people are really concerned about surveillance these days, right? And
For
like,
sure.
what is really being surveyed,
Yeah,
right?
and how can you tell if somebody is watching you?
Exactly. So there's this new app, you know, there's an app for that. There's an app for everything. And it's called Glasses Finder. And it actually lets you know if there's anybody that's using like the Meta AI glasses that are recording. And the way that this app can tell is that it goes through Bluetooth. So it can kind of pick up other Bluetooth devices that are around, and if it's communicating with another platform, essentially.
Yeah, I found another app too called something even more simple, Nearby Glasses.
Okay.
That detects it. And so this is for like Meta, Ray-Ban, Snap Spectacles, they're called. And it's kind of like the trackers you and I were talking about, because they'll find those too.
Like the air tags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like apparently, and I know a lot of people are familiar with this, if you turn your phone on, it can detect some that are around, especially if you have an Apple device and it's an Apple AirTag. So, you know, the only thing is I would think that, you know, privacy advocates are happy about this app that detects the glasses.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the makers are not.
Well, and you know, I was just reading about this as well, that there's been a couple lawsuits now that have now been opened up against Meta because, you know, I wrote this down so I didn't get it wrong, that some of the way that the footage is handled is that it's fed into a data pipeline for review, and users cannot opt out of that. So when you say Meta record to your glasses, it starts recording, but there's a human element to it that's actually going through that footage. So as soon as you start, you know, recording with those, apparently at some point through the timeline, because they're trying to better the AI, and in order to do that, you need that human element. And it turns out that people have seen all sorts of things, you know, of whether it's bathroom related, bedroom related. So yeah, apparently there's a new lawsuit that's been opened up against Meta because of that, because people can't opt out of where their data is going, where those records are going.
That's an interesting angle too. But I know the people who are making these glasses are saying that the LED indicators or the lights on them are enough notice that you're being recorded. But people don't always pay attention to that.
Well, that, and you know, I think there's a lot of us that are beginning to wonder, you know, if something's really off. Is it, you know, I mean, going back to, you know, and I can speak of this just like personally of what's on my mind, you know, just as an average human that uses technology. When the Nancy Guthrie stuff came out, and she was under the impression that that stuff wasn't being recorded.
She wasn't paying the subscription.
Yeah.
I thought about that too.
Data's going somewhere. So how do we know that those glasses aren't recording us? Not saying I don't know for certain, you know, I'm not the designers that work on it, but you know, it is a concern, I think, for a lot of us as technology continues to get better and better. Cameras are getting smaller and smaller. I mean, it's a concern for a lot of consumers.
It's really something, because remember that back in the day when everybody had the Google Homes and the Echoes and everyone was worried about being recorded? Now I just assume we always are.
That, but also I'm becoming the opposite. I'm like, what can we cut? What can we get rid of?
I know a lot of people, I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
People are cutting the cords and doing all kinds of things, but you know, you and I have talked about this, and I know someone has said it even in this newsroom to a friend. Our phones are listening to us.
All the time.
How many times do you open an app, your Instagram app or your Facebook app, and it's about something that you just talked about? There is a post that comes up that you just talked about, or an ad or something.
Well, and at first I was one of those people that was like, no, that's just coincidence. You know, like chances are you probably looked it up before. It's in your cookies or whatever they're called.
Happened to you 50 plus times.
But then, so from my understanding, when it comes to that, whether you have Android, Apple, you know, I'll use Apple as my example here. But when you say, hey, I can't say it because my phone will literally go off because she's sitting right there.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, SIRI, that's the prompt for your phone to start
Listening.
actually listening, but it's always listening for that prompt, right?
Yes.
So that's why we see those ads.
Yeah. All right, so something big is happening this weekend. In case you haven't heard, there's a lot going on. The Secret Service is already in town because Reverend Jackson's funeral is tomorrow.
Right.
And there was actually a big event tonight. But I wanted to talk about it because more and more people are talking about attending the funeral. And now, all the presidents most of the presidents that have been invited so far are attending. So we have President Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, former First Lady Jill Biden, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former VP Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff also confirmed attending. And then on top of that, you also have all of these celebrities who are going to be performing at the service. Chicago's own Jennifer Hudson. You have the Winans, BB Winans is coming in, Pastor Marvin Winans. And all these people will be speaking. And so, a lot of people are talking about how busy it's going to be in House of Hope.
Yeah, it's going to be very busy. Security is going to be very tight. So for those of you that are even just in, around, or travel near that region, of course, it's going to be impacting your day, whether or not you're planning on going.
Yeah, I was just talking to one of our reporters who comes in from Indiana, and she's thinking about taking a different route into work because she doesn't even want to pass the exit because she thinks it's going to be so busy. So just a warning if you're going to be in the area of House of Hope, which is, on the far south side.
Yeah, and even for folks that are, planning on maybe lining up before the event as everybody's getting set up, if you're trying to catch a glimpse or something, be aware of the weather too, because we do have storms that are going to be rolling through during the mid to late morning hours. And I'm going to detail the forecast, of course, coming up a little bit later on in the show. But something to keep in mind if you're going to be out there.
Let me ask you about that because the media has to go in early because of the Secret Service, which we're used to. Whenever we cover things that presidents are going to be at, I've had to do this before, you have to get there in the middle of the night so that they check all your gear. So they'll be in early. But at about 9 o'clock, that's when the doors open to the public. So people will be lining up possibly outside around 8. Are they going to get rain?
So at this point, it looks like the timing of rain potentially hitting the city is probably going to be closer to 9 o'clock and then lasting until about midday. So we could be dealing with that. And heavy downpours are also going to be an element. So if you are planning to attend or just planning to be in the region to just, see what's going on, make sure you're prepared with the umbrellas and make sure that you're ready for some rain just in case.
Okay. Well, thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
I'll let you go get ready now.
Yeah, I'm dismissed. I'm out of here.
We want to bring in Chris, who is on our web team. And you can see by his height that he also probably played sports. Did you, by the way? Did you play basketball?
I tried.
Oh.
I tried.
I thought I'd ask.
Did it go well? Absolutely not.
But he's a sports lover nonetheless. And I wanted to bring you in because we were just chatting. And, it's funny, the way that I found out about the Bears trading DJ Moore was my son. And he was talking to my oldest in the front seat on the way to school today. And he's like, bro, DJ Moore just got traded. Because these kids are on it like right away. And so he found out. What was your reaction? Was it like that?
I certainly didn't say bro because I was sitting in my bed when I saw it.
Okay.
But it wasn't really a surprise only because, and to take you kind of back into the backstory of a lot of this, was going back next week into the NFL Combine, where we were talking about the potential of who may be on the move for the Bears because they had to clear up cap space in the salary cap. And I was talking about this with Emily a couple of days ago, where they have a specific number that they need to reach, and they have to stay under that amount, especially before the new league year begins.
So for him, was it like 16.5 million or something?
His cap hit was 28 million, but by getting him off the books and trading him to the Buffalo Bills, they clear up $16 million of cap space. And it's a difficult move because DJ Moore, one of my favorite guys to talk to in the locker room, he was a very, very good player, didn't miss a game in his time with the Bears. But very specifically, they needed to move because he was a luxury. It was hard to keep him. It was hard to justify keeping him, especially when they needed to clear up cap space with so many other needs across the roster. But we heard last week with Ryan Poles, he mentioned specifically, hey, these are hard decisions we need to look at. We may need to move off of guys that we don't want to move off of. DJ Moore was one of those guys. And before the Combine, if you would have asked, do you think he's going to be on the move? I would have said, I really don't think so. But hearing him speak about the moves they need to make, it became more clear and obvious that he may be a guy that may be on the move. And in the last couple days, a lot of chatter, a lot of things started to pick up with DJ Moore, thinking, okay, he's definitely going to be on the move. We just don't know where. People were really kind of, I guess, speculating maybe they trade for Max Crosby, get that big swing to kind of make a Super Bowl push, but I never thought that was going to be the case. In this specific instance, they do right by DJ Moore, send him to Buffalo, who's an AFC contender, with a team that's going to be winning next year.
And they get the second-round draft pick in exchange for that? Okay.
They do. They do get the Bills' second-round draft pick, which is a very, very good haul for the Bears. I didn't think they were going to be able to get a second-round pick, and we talked about this in Chicago Sports Tonight. Matt Spiegel mentioned they got it too. They did get it too, and that was really impressive for the Bears.
And then who's left? Because they're going to be okay, I think, without him. I mean, Roma Dunze, my youngest son's favorite, and Loveland are left. Who else?
There's also Luther Burden, who's going to be in his second year with the Bears. He's a guy that I'm very familiar with. I covered his college and high school career a little bit. He's expected to take the next step, but I think there's a lot of pressure on a guy like Roma Dunze to take the next step too. He missed a lot of games with injury last year, but you can't really control that. In his rookie year, he wasn't really banged up that much. But I think there's those three guys are going to be the dudes to watch for the Bears next year. And it's interesting because moves are still going to happen. Just now, we were reporting on Fox 32. You know, the Bears are reportedly releasing Tremaine Edmonds too, and we knew about this. His agency told us last week they gave him permission to seek a trade. And that was starting to heat up too. Now they open up another $15 million in cap space. So the Bears are really making moves to open up money to make maybe a swing, maybe two, maybe three. We don't know what their plans are, but that's going to come out pretty early next week.
Okay. Speaking of moves, Chris, I wanted to talk about this one because, again, you know, my kids show me all this stuff, but I happen to have a connection to this one, the walk-off dunk that happened yesterday with seconds left in the game, St. Ignatius versus Simeon. And everybody kind of just guessed Simeon was going to take this one. And it did not happen. I probably watched this 6 or 7 times before 8 a.m. Today.
No, I'm with you. And it's crazy because you see like I mean, with seconds left, and then all of a sudden to have the vision to and the accuracy to get this pass and to get this dunk with no time left, that's incredible.
I was surprised that he didn't hack him and make him earn the points there.
See, it's also a good point. It's one of those coaching strategies. I see you getting your coaching cap on, Don.
I watch a lot of basketball, Chris.
I can see, but it's interesting because we're getting in that time of frame with March Madness and everything. We're seeing results like this, and obviously Simeon, a big name and a little bit of a surprise, but also we've seen earlier surprises this week too. Warren was a very top-ranked team in the state. They lost to Rockford Auburn, and kind of a stunner because that was a really good team we've been following here at Fox for a little bit too, and it's really interesting to see how all this is starting to play out.
Yeah, this is exciting. Okay, and you wanted to also talk about girls basketball. What's going on?
Speaking of the boys, the girls are actually playing in the state championships right now. We have the semifinals were today, Class 1A and 2A. The semifinals were today, and we got a pretty interesting upset where Breeze upset Pleasant Plains 48-40 to clinch spot in the title game against Byron. In the Class 1A, you have Mount Plassey against Mackinac 2. Those two championship games will play tomorrow. The Class 3A semifinals and the 4A semifinals will also play tomorrow, with the championship games for those other two later classes coming on Saturday. So it's starting to heat up, and the boys will play the state championships next week, and we're really looking forward to seeing who's going to come out on top.
That's awesome. Well, you've been great to talk to.
Oh, thank you, Don.
I like talking sports. I don't always get to do it, but it was a pleasure.
Oh, anytime. Anytime.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
So we want to bring in another producer, Ryan, who is getting ready for the 9 p.m. newscast, and we want to talk to him. Love you, Ryan. How are you? Okay, we want to talk to him about the top stories that are happening, but something else that I just loved hearing you talk about yesterday, so I'm going to bring that up in a minute. But first of all, what are some of the top stories we have today?
Okay, so the one thing I've been keeping my eye on, besides the weather, Emily's going to give us a great forecast on tonight on Fox Chicago.
Looking forward to that.
It's been the CTA safety proposal. You know, a lot of us use the CTA to get around in the city. A lot of us may have some cars, but it's kind of hard to get around in the city with that. So one thing we've noticed is that there's been a lot of stabbings, a lot of assaults, even a woman that was burned on the CTA, which sent a shock in my body because I take it every single day. Just this past December, they added more security guards as part of their whole safety proposal plan, but the federal government didn't like that. So they have
What
to
have
come-
you seen? Pause there. Have you seen increased security at all?
Yes, at
Okay.
some platforms, there's one out there. It's at Clark and Lake. State and Lake is now closed, so it's now Clark and Lake. There's about like 5 officers out there, so I feel pretty safe right there.
do? Okay.
But at other stations, like in Fullerton, down in Lincoln Park, it's kind of they're roaming around. You see them on like a variety of times, like in irregular times,
I
irregular
see.
schedule. So you don't know
Okay.
when they'll be there, but I do see them. So my curiosity as I'm following the story is, how are you going to make me safe? Because I take the train every single day and I see smoking on the train, I see people being loud on the train, playing music on the train, running back and forth between the train. It's just chaos sometimes.
So how do you make sure that you're alert? And then we'll get to, I want to really get to what we were talking about yesterday. But how do you make sure that you yourself stay safe? Because you see and hear a lot of people on their phones, and I don't know if that's the best thing, but how do you make sure you're okay?
Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. Keep your head on a swivel. I worked overnights.
Okay.
And I did take the train during that time, and that was the scariest moments of my time
sure.
here. I will say that 100%. But I am happy, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to see those safety implements, because it's just going to help us. But
Yeah.
how long is it going to take? That's the big question.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get to your Rockathon. I love this. So one thing that's great about this newsroom is many of us are from Chicago or the Chicago area, and Ryan is included in that, went to Lyons Township, and you still stay very involved. So tell me about the Rockathon.
I give all my credit to WLTL and Lyons Township for getting me to this point, because those skills I learned at that high school are being translated right now.
And you're talking about the high school TV station, right?
Yeah, radio station.
Radio,
but the
okay.
TV station also plays a role in this. So very quickly, I'm previewing this. It's going to be on tomorrow on Fox Chicago. It's a 72-hour marathon of on-air all the time. And it's all run by students. The managers, the Mr. T, he's a great mentor, but he just is there to oversee it. He's really hands off.
And you guys do it all. Well, you're no
Exactly.
longer a student.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But the students do it all.
Exactly, and they just won Best High School Radio Station in the country. So these aren't no slouches, but that's going to be coming up tomorrow. I just wanted to give a quick preview of that. We're going to be talking to them live as well. So, and it starts tomorrow. So if you want to go to their live stream, you'll be able to see these kids do crazy antics for your donations.
That's awesome. And I love that you started your career in high school.
I was
Can
the
we just
sport-
talk about that.
I was the sports director. I was the guy head of the sports department, and I was part of the team that did raise at one point $30,000, just to give
That's
a quick
awesome.
number out there. And you can see that money go back into the station.
Well, from the Rockathon to you being a rock star here at Channel 30.
I do what I
mean,
can. I do what I can,
We
Dawn.
know. You're the best.
Thank you. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you. Thanks for joining us. Of
course,
Of
always.
course. And now the news. And we'll see you at 9. Emily's up next for a few minutes, and then she'll also see you at 9. See you later.
All right, welcome back. It is a very foggy evening out there for us, and unfortunately, the dense fog, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So the view that you're looking at here, this isn't a mistake. This is typically your view that you would see from the shed camera that's looking toward the beautiful Chicago skyline. And there's just not much to see out there this evening. That's because we do have dense fog near the lake. And we actually have a couple different advisories to walk you through now. So just recently, in the last 30 to 35 minutes or so, LaPorte County was added to that dense fog advisory, now lasting until 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then for those of you that are in Lake and Porter, this is expected to expire in about 5 minutes. So it hasn't been expanded just yet, but still we'll be watching for that because conditions, they're not great out there, as you just saw from that camera. And then also central into northern Cook County has a dense fog advisory remaining in effect now until also early tomorrow morning. Same thing for Lake County. So for those of you in Lake County, Cook County, and LaPorte County, I think your morning commute on Friday is actually going to be impacted by some of that dense fog, especially if you're traveling closer to the lakefront. That's where it's going to be the worst. Now, let's talk about severe weather because this could potentially be our first go around of the season. Out there this evening, we have severe weather that's ongoing off to our south and our west over portions of the panhandle of Texas and into Oklahoma, starting to reach into Kansas now as well, where you see that slight risk and the enhanced risk. And you can see all these little polygons. Those are all little warnings that are beginning to show up. Well, the same storm system, it's going to be moving off toward the north and the east tomorrow. So that means it could be our turn when it comes to strong to severe thunderstorms. And again, this is going to be our first go around for the spring season where we could be seeing some severe thunderstorms rolling through. At this point, the worst of it does appear like it's going to be staying off to our south and our west. But if we zoom things in, for those of you that are in McHenry County, Lake County, stretching all the way back toward Kendall, Grundy, and LaSalle, there's a slight risk from the Storm Prediction Center. So what does that mean? That means scattered severe thunderstorms are going to be possible. Elsewhere, we have a marginal risk that's a level 1 out of 5, meaning an isolated severe thunderstorm or two could be possible. Now, the primary risk, if these actually do end up becoming strong or severe, it looks like it's going to be for wind, but there is an isolated tornado threat as well that we have to watch out for. Your temperatures right now, much cooler at the lake. The reason for that is because we have an easterly wind flow, and that's bringing in cold air from Lake Michigan because our Lake Michigan water temperatures are only in the mid-30s right now, so it makes a really big difference. Futurecast, let's time out quickly here. A couple storms for you. So tomorrow morning, we could be waking up to showers and thunderstorms rolling through. That's round one. The second wave during the afternoon could potentially be strong or severe. I will have all those details coming up very shortly for you over on Fox Chicago. We'll see you right at 9 o'clock.